Good morning, UUMAN. My name is David Krober, and I am your worship associate today on this glorious spring morning. Isn't it wonderful to just wake up, feel the fresh, clean air again after the rain? I'm a member of this congregation and your worship associate today, and so on behalf of the Reverend Dave Dunn, our intern minister Liz Martin, our director of religious exploration Lexi T. Brown, yes, our music director Alex Peach, and this morning's musical accompanist Meredith McCaskey, and the greeters and the technical team that make all of this possible. I'd like to welcome you to the Unitarian Universalist Metro Atlanta North congregation, which we lovingly call UUMAN. UUMAN is a liberal faith community with a mission to nurture our spirit, strive for justice, and transform the world. No matter who you are, whom you love, or where you are on your spiritual journey, you are welcome here. Welcome to all that are joining us remotely today. And if I have any visitors that are here for the first time in the sanctuary and you feel comfortable doing so, we'd love to have you stand and introduce yourself so we can worship together as friends. Do I have any first-time visitors over here on my left? No? How about on my right? Good morning. Hi, Susan from Roswell. Welcome. Welcome. Is that it? And welcome to anybody that's joining us on the live stream this morning as well. So we joyfully welcome children and families and in worship together, and the sounds of children are part of a living congregation, so we do have a fidget corner in the back for children of all ages if you feel the need to go back there. Nursery care for babies and toddlers is available and open before service begins. And after the Wandering Time story today, we will have Children's Chapel over in Fellowship Hall. Right? Yes. Yep, okay, good. Good. Just double checking. If you're new to UUMAN or you want to learn more about UU principles and values, we invite you to join the UU 102 session that's going to be during second hour next Sunday, April 19th. You can see Jesse Diaz for more information, and there's Jesse back there, yes. Also coming next weekend, inspired by the nationwide singing resistance movement, singers and activists are invited to the UU Justice Jam on Saturday the 18th at Emerson UU Congregation in Marietta from 10:30 to 4. Social justice and music will come together for a day of building community through shared songs of resistance, resilience, and unity. For more information, you can see the insert in today's worship, order of worship. I think it's a QR code on the back side. And we're not having second hour classes today in order to bring you a volunteer fair or an activity fair where you can learn more about the various committees that make UUMAN run so smoothly. You can learn more about where and when you can share your time by joining us out after the service, actually at 11:15 on the portico, where we'll have folks talking about the different groups that you can get involved with. And today is the last day that you can submit a letter to the future in the UUMAN time capsule. If you haven't done so already, there's been some emails that have been sent out with a link to a Google form. If you need that, you can see me or Ash Battistelli. And I think that covers the announcements, except for Marguerite.
So good morning, I'm Marguerite, and together with Colin and Carla, we formed the Stewardship Committee this year. This is week 3 out of 4. The good news is we are halfway. This is our thermometer. We are 150,000 on our way to 300,000, and we had 61 pledges. However,
I'm back. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm heartbroken. We are dependent on your gift, the pledge of your gift to make sure that this church keeps running, that the lights stay on, that the air conditioning runs, that we can support our aisle programs, our young adult programs, that we got coffee out in the fellowship hall, all the things that make this church run. And we're only at 50%. We really, really need you guys to make your pledges because that's what the board bases their budget upon. Is hugely important right now. So please, make your pledge now so that we can give them the numbers they need to make sure that this place runs. It's very, very important. We only got 1 week left, guys. Really. Don't make me call you.
And in your order of worship, there is a QR code. It's the easiest way to get to your breeze form to pledge. And if you need any help, we will be here after service to help out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Greet one another with the hand or elbow of friendship.
Our call to worship this morning is called Waiting by Marta Valentin. Step into the center. Come in from the margins. We will hold you here. Don't look back or around. Feel our arms. The water is rising. We will hold you as you tremble. We will warm you. Don't look out or away. Life is in here, between us. In this tiny space where we end and you begin, hope lives. In this precious tiny space, no words need to be whispered. We make the circle. We make this circle because we choose to. Come, step in. We are waiting for you. Come, let us worship together.
Our chalice lighting for today is the poem Until All Means All by Erica Hewitt. The chalice, as a symbol of Unitarian Universalism, arose as a beacon of hope in an atmosphere of tyranny. The chalice arose as a sign of promise that the marginalized would neither be forgotten nor ignored because they are beloved and precious from the perspective of the holy. This morning, we remember all of the people who have been told explicitly or implicitly through police violence or government policy, through derision or dehumanization, that they're anything less than whole, anything less than beloved. As we light this chalice, we make of our lives a beacon, a symbol of our promise to draw a circle wide, a sign that we will not rest until all means all. And now, please rise as you are able and join us in singing our opening hymn, number 83, Winds Be Still. This is the time in our service where children, young and old, are invited to the front for our wondering time for all ages. After the story, we got it ready on it. After the story, the children are invited to exit into Fellowship Hall for Children's Chapel for the remainder of the service. If this is your child's first time attending Children's Chapel, please walk them into the hall to sign up. And after service, please escort that doesn't apply today because there is no second hour. Go, Lexi.
So today I have for you The Rabbit Listened, and I brought some friends to hang out with us. Nash really wants the chicken. We've got a bear. No. Bear. Oliver. Fox. Technically today he's a all right, we're going. We're going that way. Okay. A bunny. Oh my goodness. All right, does everybody have a friend? That's really important that you have a friend. So today we're going to read The Rabbit Listened. And our friends here, they're going to have a job. So maybe I'll mention a chicken in my story, and you can hold up your chicken. It is kind of like a chicken. The Rabbit Listened by Corey Doringfield. One day, Taylor decided to build something new, something special, something amazing. Taylor was so proud. But then, out of nowhere, crash! Things came crashing down. It was very sad. The chicken was the first to notice. That's exactly what the chicken said when he noticed. Cluck, cluck, cluck. What a shame. I'm so sorry. Let's talk about it. Cluck, cluck. But Taylor didn't feel like talking, so the chicken left. Next came the bear. Where's the bear? Over there. It's Ritzy. Grrr, rah, how horrible. I bet you feel so angry. Let's shout about it. But Taylor didn't feel like shouting, so the bear left. The elephant knew just what to do. Trumpa-dum-dum. You got both elephants. I can fix it. We just need to remember exactly the way that it was. But Taylor didn't feel like remembering, so the elephant left. The Taylor left. One by one they came. The hyena, let's laugh about it. The ostrich, gulp, let's hide and pretend it didn't happen. The kangaroo, tisk, tisk, what a mess. Let's throw it all away. The snake, shh, let's go knock somebody else's down. But Taylor didn't feel like doing anything with anybody, so eventually they all left. And then Taylor was all alone. In the quiet, Taylor didn't even notice a little rabbit. It didn't move closer, or it moved a little closer, inch by inch. Taylor could just feel its body heat next to him. Taylor sat in silence, and then he said, "Stay with me." And the rabbit listened. The rabbit listened to Taylor talk. The rabbit listened to Taylor shout. The rabbit listened to Taylor remember and laugh. And the rabbit listened to Taylor's plans to hide, to throw it all away, and to ruin it for somebody else. Through it all, the rabbit never left. And when the time was right, the rabbit listened to Taylor's plan to build again. "I can't wait," Taylor said. "It's going to be amazing." Yeah, I'm going to need some blocks next time. So we're going to put our friends over here in the wagon, and then we're going to go hang out in Children's Chapel.
At this point in our service, we share our joys with each other to magnify them and our sorrows to divide the weight of their pain. If you're so moved, please feel free to come forward, state your name, take a pebble, and drop it in the bowl and express a joy or sorrow that you may have. For those of you attending via our live stream, if you have a joy or a sorrow that you would like to share this morning, please type it in the chat.
Hey, I'm Seth, and I'm coming here as your treasurer. So isn't it cool how many children we have in the church these days? I mean, it's amazing. It's wonderful, and it's glorious. So I'm just really grateful for that. That's one thing. So the church board, in its infinite wisdom, has decided to invest an additional 5% of its budget towards the children's program next year. So this is very exciting. We're going to make Lexi full-time instead of part-time, and all kinds of adventures. This is very exciting. Yes. So as you're getting ready to do your pledge, please help me out there so I can sleep at night. That's all. Thank you so much.
Good morning. I'm Valerie Bayless. I'm a member of this congregation. I have a pebble of joy because yesterday I spent the day with 8 other UUMAN friends on an outing that I purchased from the auction. John and Donna arranged for a group of us to go up to the Etowah Indian Mounds and then to a lovely Indian lunch and then to the Booth Western Museum. With this weather, it was just a beautiful day out with great people. And it's too bad that the rest of you couldn't have seen Bev Jordan and I trying to squeeze into the way, way back of Rollins' SUV like a couple of 6-year-olds. I don't think I've been that close to another person in quite a while, so sorry you all missed that, but what a beautiful day, and I'm so grateful for this community that I have opportunities to get out with good people and do things like that.
Hi, my name is Annie Bell. I'm a member of this congregation, and this is a pebble of joy and gratitude. This is Wiley. He was born on February 27th, and so we're just really happy that he's here and that he's healthy. And it's been a while since we have been here on a Sunday, so we got a toddler and a newborn out of the house on time today, so very happy to be back.
I'm Ash. My pronouns are they, them. I'm a member of this congregation, and I've got 2 pebbles of joy to share today. One is just time with friends this weekend. It was a very, filling my cup kind of weekend, so that's nice. And then the other one is I read on Aaron in the Morning's website that Georgia defeated, all of its anti-trans bills so far, so that's super exciting, too. So yeah, 2 pebbles of joy this morning.
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson, member of the dedicated live stream team. Come see us after. I do have a couple of pebbles of joy to celebrate. One, my wife's mother, who has been in and out of the hospital for her cancer treatment. Her cancer treatment is actually holding, so we're thankful and grateful for that. Another is my mother, who is currently in the hospital and has been for 2 weeks. Looks like she's about getting ready to be released tomorrow to rehab, so I'm happy to celebrate that. And one more Buddhist reflection that I'd like to leave you all with. What did the Buddhists say to the hot dog vendor? Make me one with everything.
In light of the sermon that's coming up, we heard a lot of joys and got to have some laughs, but I also want to hold that this week was tough. I don't know about you, but I spent Monday night and Tuesday morning
with the same kind of feelings I had as a kid during the Cold War, worrying that, nuclear destruction was about to annihilate us. And I think that's the beauty of being together, is that we can hold the fact that this was a tough week and also a beautiful, wonderful week.
And I'm dropping a pebble of joy. My middle child, my daughter, turned 30 last week. And she and her 2 children and her husband were up visiting and got to have brunch with them on Saturday morning. So it was great to see them and be with them. And then I'll drop one final pebble for all those joys and sorrows that are still too tender to escape the folds of your heart. Ask that we keep one another in our thoughts during the coming week.
Is this on? Is that on? There we go. It's mystifying the number of things the English language allows us to lose.
I can lose my patience 12 times a day every day, but a loss of innocence may happen in a single event.
For many people, losing weight is cause for celebration, while losing one's job is cause for alarm.
Losing your heart is usually a delightful experience. Losing a limb is not. Loss of keys is an annoyance. Loss of a child is a tragedy.
I will say quite flippantly that I am losing my mind, but a deep down fear of mine is that one day some disease will invade my brain and my mind, my self-awareness, my memories will all literally be lost.
And we all know that at some point, each one of us will lose what is most precious of all, life itself.
Nobody wants to be called a loser, but we are, all of us. Each of us has, quite literally, everything to lose, and all of us will eventually lose everything. To be human is to live in the shadow of awful vulnerability, every breath we draw, and every day that passes haunted by loss. It might be invisible on a cellular level.
There are losses as casual as brushing off a hair that is dropped from your head to your arm. But then there are the losses that leave you reeling, your whole world shattered. There is no equity or fairness in the distribution of loss among mankind, humankind. The only surety is that loss is inevitable.
Many of us have been part of religions that see pain and loss as tools that the deity sends to test, to teach, or to purify people. Even for those who are non-religious, loss is not a subject we tend to be comfortable with. We want grief and mourning to be kept tidily within the bounds of a therapist's or clergy person's office. For some of us, loss is something to be met with stoicism.
When grief and loss are seen in these ways, we must tamp down our anger, hide our woundedness or bitterness, erase our doubts and despair. We hide our tears, paint them over with a face of passive endurance. It's God's will, we tell ourselves, or it's just bad luck, or that's how life goes. Because somehow we think that being mature means being imperturbable. Too often, our religions and cultures strip us of the language and the emotions we need when confronted with loss.
If being a human means being a loser, then the instinctive and natural reactions to loss aren't something to be repressed or dismissed. Someone who doesn't mourn is someone who doesn't love. To love at all is to be vulnerable, C.S. Lewis famously wrote. If loss leaves us unmoved, it is not because we have become more enlightened, more mature, or more in touch with our deities or the universe. It is because we have become less human, something colder, something more impenetrable, irredeemable. When we try to purge our thoughts of the inevitability of loss, or try to purge ourselves of the full emotional experience of loss, we are robbing ourselves.
Imagine a human life is like a self-portrait. You or I start as a crude sketch or a faceless outline. As we grow and learn and have experiences, the shape of our faces and contours of our bodies in the portrait grow more distinct. As we develop our personalities, color is added to the painting, and we become recognizable, though the portrait still lacks depth. In facing loss, we have the opportunity to add the depth that will bring our self-portraits vividly to life. Loss can have the opposite effect, of course. We can choose to recede, to grow colder, dimmer, till our portrait is more like a caricature. Or we can choose to become more real, more human. We can allow loss to push us towards love, compassion, empathy, and kindness.
Why do we live in a world of loss? That's a question philosophers have been debating for millennia. We may not have answers to the why of pain, suffering, and death, but that doesn't mean we have to ignore it, or downplay it, or swathe ourselves in stoicism. In the shadow of inevitable loss, we can live our lives fully aware that all the other lives we brush up against are made of the same fragile, vulnerable stuff as ours.
It may be that the most profound and deep and beautiful people are those who have had their lives marked by loss and found a path through the anger and despair to an empathy and compassion which would not have been possible had they not accepted the harder feelings first. We can choose to be like them.
We can be people who embrace our own humanity when loss occurs, people who doubt and rage and weep.
We can make it safe for other people to be fully human, whether that means catching their tears or listening to their anger or dressing their wounds or just sitting at a distance, quietly holding them in our hearts. When I read that reflection that Meredith wrote in preparation for this service today, I kind of thought, well, that's it. No need for me to write a sermon. I'm done. We don't need another word. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your many gifts with us, Meredith. You'll notice in your order of service that it listed Meredith on the piano for that one. No, Meredith is also a gifted writer in addition to being a gifted musician. Thank you again. So the last time I preached, I told you about a subject I had been thinking about a lot, something that I thought about every time I drive up to UUMAN. Well, this Sunday, I also wanted to talk about something I've been thinking about a lot, but I've been thinking about it on a weekly basis, just like driving up here, but in a very different context. This weekly activity that I'm talking about that gets me thinking about loss is the TV show Shrinking. Has anyone watched this show? Okay. Oh, I see a couple hands. Excellent. So you know what I'm talking about. So this show, I don't recommend it for everyone. It's kind of raunchy, kind of foul-mouthed a little bit, I'd say. But the arc of the story is following a man who has lost his wife and the aftermath of how he is dealing with this tremendous loss of his beloved partner. And it gets me thinking about the process of grieving and of loss. And thinking about this every week, I happened to have a quick conversation with Meredith in one of the second hour classes in which we found we had something in common. And really, honestly, it's something that everybody has in common. But we had both experienced a really deep loss that changed us in big ways. Now, in the field of theology, wrestling with big loss often leads to discussions about what is called theodicy, which is one of those fancy seminary words about how to reconcile the existence of an all-knowing, all-powerful, all-loving God with the existence of evil and suffering. And that leads to exploring more questions, or at least possible answers, for questions like, why do bad things happen? And what meaning is to be found in suffering? I don't know about you, but for me, personally, I'm not interested in arguing about a loving, all-knowing, all-powerful creator that could allow these horrible things to happen. But I am interested in thinking about what meaning there is for us to be had from experiencing evil and suffering. Just as Meredith wrote, everyone is inevitably going to be a loser. And if you're of a certain age, do you not automatically want to go like this? Anybody? I'm a loser. All right, we can keep going. But like she said, we are all going to lose. Loss is an unavoidable side effect of living and loving. When Meredith and I spoke those weeks ago, it wasn't just the loss that we had in common, at least from what I gathered from our really short conversation, but that we had both come to a place of seeing these big losses as something that hadn't just taken away from us, but had also given us something that was hard to explain to others. For me, for a long time, I thought that watching my mother take her final breaths after suffering 2.5 years with breast cancer was absolutely the worst moment of my life. It felt wildly unfair to be 26 years old with 2 young babies and losing my mom. It makes sense to everyone, I think, when you hear that I felt like it was the worst. And for a while, it really was. Especially during those early days of grieving, when the real world just won't stop, doesn't stop, just keeps going, even though my world had collapsed and the floor had fallen out from below my feet. That was the worst. And yet, and as time went on, I started to recognize the ways in which having this experience had changed me, and almost all of them were for the better. I found myself a lot like what Meredith said in her reading. I found myself becoming so much more inclined towards empathy and more willing to extend patience to the people around me. I was determined from that point forward to say yes to the good things, yes to joy wherever it presented itself. I also committed myself to a new way of thinking. I wanted to make sure that I didn't spend too much time dwelling on what was ultimately inconsequential. Now, for me, that meant I didn't care if my house was clean. It might mean something else for someone else. But I wanted to do that so that I could prioritize the things that really mattered to me. I don't think that I would have made that leap without this loss. I found myself to be a better friend to my peers and to my spouse as they eventually lost parents too. Partly because I had a better understanding of that level of grief, but also because of the kindnesses I received in those dark days from both friends and nameless strangers. I was determined to pay those kindnesses forward as much as possible.
Surviving the worst had given me a lot in terms of personal growth. But by no means would I rather not have my mom back than have that personal growth. It reminds me of one of my favorite bumper stickers. It's been a while since I've seen one, but it says, "Oh no, not another learning experience." One week, this I guess it's a poem or a reflection, showed up in my email inbox from a blog called Tiny Buddha. "A broken heart is an open heart" by Jamie Greenwood. Know this, a broken heart is an open heart. It is in the breaking, when our hearts are peeled back on themselves, that our truths have passage to come in and out. If we're lucky, our hearts will break over and over again to reveal new ways of being, of thinking, and of loving. Each break allows our hearts to heal bigger than the time before. Yes, there is pain every time we're cracked open, immeasurable pain. And with each break, each sting of pain, our hearts are able to expand and strengthen our capacity to love. In my book, anything that expands and strengthens our capacity to love, that's a gift. So I have come to see my mother's death and other experiences that have broken my heart as, quote, devastating gifts. I wouldn't wish the pain of those experiences on anyone else. I also wouldn't wish to experience them myself again. But I would also never wish away the results of that gift. If you watch the show Shrinking, and you watched the last episode, you saw Harrison Ford give the most amazing acting performance of his life, I think, in which he tells his young mentee, the man who had lost his wife, what a shame it would be to get to be 42 years old and not be covered in scars. He says, it's sometimes you have to move past those scars and get forward and make new ones. And that's what he encourages him to do. And then he closes with a great throwback line to his role as Indiana Jones. He says, "Choose wisely." I loved it. Now, I don't know if I can say that every loss I've experienced resulted in a gift. And I would never, ever expect anyone else to skip past the hard part, the grieving, the anger, all the things that our friend in our story this morning felt, the rage, the sadness. I would never encourage anyone to skip past that and just look for the gift. To me, that's a textbook example of spiritual bypassing. And there are just some losses that will never produce a gift. That's the problem I have with the every cloud has a silver lining philosophy. Some bad things that happen are just bad, period. So we're back to that big word again, theodicy. Why do bad things happen? And what meaning can we make out of our losses, since we're all losers? Maybe this is one answer to consider. As Meredith wrote, we will all experience loss. But as she also wrote, we can allow loss to push us towards love, compassion, empathy, and kindness. We can make it safe for other people to be fully human, whether that means catching their tears
or listening to their anger, or dressing their wounds, or just sitting, like the rabbit, at a distance, quietly holding them in our hearts. Doesn't that sound a little familiar? Kind of like something we just did in our worship service? Maybe we are making it safe for other people to be fully human. It sounds just like what we do in Joys and Concerns. And now, there's a whole sermon explaining why I think that might be the most important part of our worship service. In fact, I think that's what beloved community might mean. Make it safe for everyone to be fully human together all of the time. I think that's a great goal. Make it safe to be truly human, fully human together. To be able to share that we all know that you and I and everyone we know are losers. And knowing that truth is a gift.
In an effort to fulfill and further the vision and mission of this congregation, we ask that our members and friends share of their time, treasure, and talents. With this, we will now take the offering. You may also use the Give Now option in the Breeze app or a web browser. And just a reminder that this month's 50/50 recipient is the Georgia Interfaith Power and Light Association. Any check specified as 50/50 or Breeze donations specifying Give to 50/50 this month will go to support their work.
We accept these offerings given by our friends and members to further the mission and vision of our congregation and those of Georgia Interfaith Power and Light. May we use it wisely.
And now, please rise if you are able and join us in singing hymn number 121, We'll Build a Land. Please join me as we extinguish our chalice together. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Our closing words are by Leslie Takahashi, On the Brink. All that we have ever loved and all that we have ever been stands with us on the brink of all that we aspire to create. A deeper peace, a larger love, a more embracing hope, a greater generosity of spirit, a deeper joy in the life we share. May your life's why aspire you to create these things eternal. Go in peace, but don't go in peace until you have visited the activities fair outside. And have a wonderful week, my friends.